Hello, 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 and welcome back to The Unprofessional Entrepreneur. Today we are getting into episode 2 of season 4, and I am going to take you through my 2024 in numbers. I contemplated making this part of the year in review, but because of how long that video was, I really did want to make these two separate, and I did it separate last year, and I think I just like it this way. So if you're curious about all of the nitty-gritty numbers that made up my 2024, I am about to share those with you. So let's start with the metrics for social media. So I grew by 7% on Instagram in 2024, and that is no surprise because I really stopped prioritizing Instagram last year. It became an inbox for me. I didn't coin that. Instagram as an inbox, but I love it, and I will be using that phrase a lot because that is how I view Instagram now. Instagram is just for the DMs for me, DM conversations from the people that I'm talking to on Threads. I don't really use it for anything else at the time that this episode has aired. I hopefully have posted the banner that I created that just gives you an intro to my business, and then I'm going to maybe periodically share reels because I fall back into the trap of wanting to create video, but I also know that it doesn't do much to move my business forward, so it's not a priority, and my numbers reflect that I didn't treat it as a priority. Email, I grew by 22%. It is a little bit of a skewed number, if I'm being honest, because I started the year, I want to say, with like 900 followers, and then I removed half of my followers when I moved from Kartra to ConvertKit because I just removed all the inactive followers, all the people who hadn't opened in like 6 months or more, I think. And so the number I'm using to count that growth is the after removal number, which I believe was my number in February, not my number in January. So it's not exactly accurate. But like I said, I removed half my subscribers, but I still grew by 22% after removing 400 people, which is I'm happy with, considering I didn't do anywhere near as many summits in 2024 as I have done in previous years. We're sitting at around 700 subscribers on my email list, and I'm happy with that. I don't think you need a big list. I do make sales through my list, and it's in a place that I'm good with. It grows on its own now. My favorite metric for like social media, it's not really a social media, but my favorite vanity metric, I guess, is going to be my podcast listens. This grew by 144%. I tripled my listens in 2024, and that's with inconsistent episode releases. I think I did February through May consistently, and then I did bi-weekly until August, and then I didn't share any episodes until I did the 12 Days of Business series in December. So 6 months of inconsistent episodes and a 12-day series, and I still tripled my views. The most listened to podcast episode of 2024 and of all time as of right now is the Threads strategy episode that I recorded, I want to say April, and I still get listens to that episode to this day because people always ask me about Thread strategy. I've actually just been asked to be on 2 podcasts as a guest about it and 1 group program. So you could say I'm a little bit of a fan of Threads, and I'm kicking myself in the butt because I didn't track Threads in my metrics last year. I've put it for this year along with LinkedIn, but it just, I don't know, didn't cross my mind to ever track the growth. What I can say is I think I started in January around 500 followers when it was unblocked for Europe because of the automatic people who get added when they say they want to follow all the same people as Instagram. And I started January 2025 with around 1,800 followers. So that's 1,300 followers in a year. I don't know the growth without doing the math, but off of my guess, triple the net. I tripled the amount of followers on Threads in 2024. We'll get into how many sales I made from Threads because it's my main traffic driver, it's my main conversion platform. It won all the awards that there are to win in 2024. Another one that really shocked me because I don't know. I think we get in our heads of like, is this really working sometimes when it comes to marketing, which is why I track all my numbers so closely. I have a metrics date the first Monday of every month where I go through all my platforms and I update all my numbers, which is where all of this data is coming to you from. So for those of you who aren't great with math, who don't do like metrics or data or any of that, my average number, we're talking website visits right now. So my average monthly sessions and my average page views per month, this is where I added the total of the 12 months together and divided by 12. So it's not to say every single month I hit this exact number, it's that on average, this is what I was hitting. So my average sessions per month, sessions are how many times someone came to your website, where page views are how many pages those people looked at while they were on your website. So my average sessions per month was 482, and my average page views per month were 2,580. In 2023, I didn't do the growth numbers, but they're big. In 2023, my average sessions per month was 193. That's at least a double growth. And my average page views per month was 373. So I know that I had some bot issues. I want to say in February, it was like 100% bots that like have skewed my numbers. But beyond that month where it was like double the average, I used to get 373 page views per month, and I'm now getting 2,500. So like me thinking, is my website working? Are people going to my website? Yes. 2,000 page views per month on average. Like just let that sink in because I'm letting that sink in. That's like wild to me. I'm so happy with these numbers, to be honest. And I have goals to, again, double my page views per month. This is a total tangent, but I want to start a hobby blog this year. And to get your hobby blog on Mediavine, which is the like major ads, the major ads platform for websites. There are other ones. Mediavine's just like, I think the most popular or the longest running. It used to be the only one as far as I know, but you need to have 50,000 page views. I have 2,500, right? So I'm nowhere near a massive website, but with my hobby blog, I'm hoping to hit 10,000 page views within the year, and we'll see how that pans out. I will, of course, be updating you on that in a numbers and review in 2025, because I do think I will talk about my hobby blog on this podcast because it will be something to track and something that I will be able to share my takeaways with, and it'll basically deepen my blogging skills, and I'm excited to share that with you. But now let's get into what you really care about, which is my sales numbers. I actually did negative 2% in sales this year. I still count it as a win. I'm basically $1,000 off of what I sold last year. So it's not a hit for me to still reach the same number. Would I like to see higher numbers this year? Yes, absolutely. But I also can acknowledge that I sold for 9 out of 12 months and still matched last year's revenue where I was like hauling ass and trying to figure my shit out. So I did do negative 2% growth, but I still count it as a win. I want to talk about how my income was divided because in 2023, I had a pretty equal income between agency and freelance. So I have 3 categories that we're comparing this year and last year. And this year, my goal was for the agency to make more money. Last year, I had 42% of my income come from my agency. I had 41% of my income come from freelancing, and I had 16% come from other. Other is things like my digital products or affiliate income or one-on-one, because I did have one-on-one sales in 2023, whether those were intensives or one-on-one clients. Freelance contains my Fiverr income. So in 2023, that was beta reading. And it also includes my subcontracting work that I do for another agency where I am a engagement strategist. So in 2023, my agency income, which was done for you work and the remix, versus freelance income were really, really close. There was a $400 difference between which one brought in the most money. And personally, I wasn't happy with that because I want my agency to be my moneymaker. And maybe that's an ego thing because it is at the heart of it like a passion for me, right? But I do want my agency to be the thing turning a profit. So in 2024, my agency was 59% of my income. Freelancing was 40% of my income, and other was 0.3. So other took a hit because I had no one-on-one offers and I didn't sell or push digital products at any point. So other really was, I think I had one sale of the PR pitch guide and then it was affiliate income. So other really didn't make it on the map in 2024. I hope to have more affiliate sales in 2025, so we'll see how other is doing at the end of the year. But the remix and done for you made my income this year, which made me really happy at 59%. And freelance, actually, I diversified it more in 2024. So I was pretty happy to see that it still didn't surpass the agency because I was still subcontracting for the engagement agency. I still am at this point. And I was not only doing beta reading, I also started doing UGC videos in 2024. And so my income was no longer just Fiverr. I'm on a few different platforms. If you're interested in UGC, you can ask me, I'll send them to you. But so even with those changes, with price raises that I did on the platforms I was using, with the new platforms I'm using, they pay higher than Fiverr. That's because I haven't raised my rates on Fiverr enough. I still made 19% more through the agency, and the agency had a significant jump. Looking at it, it's a third more than it was in 2023. And so that makes me really happy to see that price shift, to see that increase as 2024 moved. The one thing I'm not happy with was my revenue numbers. And that's on me because, like I'd mentioned in the last episode, I invested in Pinterest marketing when I probably shouldn't. And I continued for probably longer than I should have. And at the beginning of the year, I'd hired someone to be an engagement strategist for me, and they just weren't doing the numbers I wanted. So that also took away from my revenue. But beyond that, I'm happy with the team hires that I had. So I wouldn't change. It's a learning year. I can see where I spent money that I shouldn't have, and I wouldn't change what I did, basically. All right, so let's talk about the actual sales I made. I made 23 sales in total, and I think my Fiverr told me that I had 42 sales on that platform, so I could say that I made 65, but I don't like inflating numbers or like lying to you, and that's not including the other platforms. That's not including my subcontractor work where I worked 12 months, I don't know how many clients I worked for in that position, but so agency services, what made up that 59% of my income, was 23 sales through the agency. 16 of those sales were remixes. 10 of those 16 remixes converted from threads. So I think we're a little happy about that. Like hard numbers, hard data, that threads was at least 66% of my sales. Out of those 23 sales, 12 of them were from Threads. That's now including the 7 sales that weren't remixes that were done for you work. So there were 2 done for you clients that came from Threads, 10 remix clients that came from Threads. The other 11 were a mix of referrals, repeat clients, and Instagram. And I want to say I had like 1 from podcast, 1 from email. It's just how it works out in the end. But to say I'm happy to see that Threads, I have concrete data. Threads is where it's at for me with my business. It really helps me structure my strategies moving forward for what I want to be doing, where I'll be selling, where I show up the most. It really solidifies continuing to use Instagram as only an inbox for me. And I'm excited to see what happens when I'm consistent with the podcast this year. Like I mentioned a little before, I was super inconsistent with Unprofessional Entrepreneur throughout 2024. And it was a mix of things: a lack of planning, a lack of strategy, a lack of motivation, just being very behind the scenes with things so that Threads was easy. Threads required me just brain dumping on the app, where podcasts required planning and notes and editing and scheduling and emails and then promoting the podcast after I shared it, because they don't just get listens without you talking about it, right? So the podcast does definitely take more energy than any of my other marketing platforms, but I do know it is great for nurturing and educating my audience. This has nothing to do with my numbers, so it will be staying. And I did talk about that on the year in review of business and personal. So if you're curious of what my marketing stack is going to be, obviously these numbers give you a very big hint at what I'll be focusing on. And I'm going to leave this here because those are all the numbers I had to share with you. I get myself pumped up looking at my own numbers. If you are someone who doesn't track your numbers, let this be a sign that tracking your numbers actually can do wonders for your brain. I know some people spin out about numbers, but I think it's about what numbers are you looking at. I don't look at Instagram every week. I look at Instagram once a month. I don't look at my sales as they go. I look at my sales at the end of the year. I don't look at my podcast every month and think, oh my God, I only had so many listens per episode. I look at how many listens I'm getting per month, because people who come to my show tend to binge multiple episodes. And so it reflects differently on per episode listens versus per month listens, right? So tracking your metrics, strongly recommend it. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you liked getting that little insider peek into my podcast, that you learned something, that you got the data you needed to know that Threads is where it's at. And I will see you all next week on another episode of The Unprofessional Entrepreneur. And as always, don't forget to stay unprofessional.